Welcome to the Speaking Podcast. You can find all our episodes on speakingpodcast.com. We're also on BitChute and YouTube. You'll find the links in the podcast description. I'm also a podcasting coach because I've got 4 other podcasts, with 4 of them getting to the top 0.5%. You'll find everything on bio.link/podcaster. And today, my guest in Arkansas, in the USA, an entrepreneur, an author, a speaker, a podcaster, which I always love, but a more difficult job, but probably the most rewarding, a mother to 5 and homeschooling them. So please welcome to the show, Julia Gentry.
Thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
So you might let the listeners, I hit all the bullet points, but you might just let them know a little bit more about Julia.
Yeah, all those things, you're right. The best, hardest thing I do as a mom of 5, right? We live our lives somewhere between brilliant and insane. I'm also, just in regards to this podcast, I'm a speaker, I'm a growth coach, and I am a dreamer. I'm a learned controller who has found her freedom in dreaming again. We'll put it that way, which I'm excited to talk with you about today.
Yeah, brilliant. So that's we'll delve into the speaking side first, because I'm looking forward to going into what your book is all about and everything, but your own journey in speaking from a young age to how you got comfortable on stage.
Yeah, it's so funny because someone asked me this the other day, and I as an adult always had a desire to be a speaker. It was always in the back of my mind, but my journey is so different in that a lot of times the thing that we want most is the thing that we avoid the hardest. But it's so funny because where my journey started, I can remember being 7 years old, right? And I remember being in Orlando studios with my mom, and I'm in a sea of thousands of people. And they asked for a volunteer. And my mom happens to shoot my hand up in the audience, thousands of people, and they call on me. They call on me and they're like, "You come on up. We want you to come up." And I do not want to go up. I remember it like it was yesterday. I did not want to go up. I did not want to play the game. I did not want to get in front of people. And my mom forced me to do it. Now she apologizes and she's like, "It was so ego and I'm sorry I didn't." But there was something in me that day that paralyzed me on stage. And I made this inner vow that I would never do it again, never. And so my journey of being a speaker was not only about learning the technique, but unlearning limiting beliefs, dealing with some pain, processing emotions, working through the hard things from a mindset, heart set level. The skill and the technique has been a byproduct. But today now I am doing what I love. I love speaking with people. I love transforming people from the stage, and I'm more of a natural facilitator. So for me, I generally don't follow scripts. I don't follow an outline. I really watch the tone. I know the topic that we're going after, but we do a lot with interacting with the crowd, and we found our niche and we're having a good time.
I actually prefer that. I don't like when somebody's fully scripted, and sometimes you'll see a lot of these. They're brilliant. You see them speaking, but something can throw them, and then you can actually see who's the good speakers, because if someone's phone goes off, when you're in flow, you just make a joke of it and you just don't make the person get stressed, whereas they could actually get upset and you can actually see it in their demeanor, the way they react to it.
100%. And I think that's been my biggest journey as a speaker, and learning about the skill, the craft, but more importantly is, being a speaker is not about being a speaker. It's about building your character and your resolve and your message. When you're really connected to your message, you live it, you breathe it, you've learned hard lessons, you're living your life on behalf of what you're talking about. It becomes less about the script. Why? Because I've actually built the character, the resolve, right? The mindset, heart set to deliver a message to people. And I think that that's what the world is needing right now. Is we don't need more technique. We don't need one more how-to guide. We have thousands of those at the click of a button. What we need is transformation. And so for me, when everything shifted as a speaker and the impact, right? Not even just how many sessions am I getting booked? How many speaking engagements am I getting, right? For a business, I get it, bottom line is important. But at the end of the day, if we're not transforming or moving the people in the audience, what's the point, And so for me, it's when I realized that what I'm learning is a part of my message. I then was able to connect to the message more, which creates more impact, which then ultimately leads to more bookings.
Brilliant. And I know your journey similar to me with real estate, and I think it's probably kind of how it's created what the journey that you're on now. So you might just let people know what journey you went through.
Oh man, it's such a loaded question. Like we joke, but we're like, my husband are like, we will share more about our failures than our successes. Like we have gone for it. I mean, we started our business in 2008 in real estate, right? Like most people, that is the worst time to be getting into real estate. We actually hit it spot on because we picked a niche in short sales. I mean, we bought and sold millions of dollars worth of real estate in a couple of years, only to end up $100,000 in debt, And so that was a huge jump because we realized that at that point in time, there's more to business than making money. There's more to real estate than making money. Like you got to learn the game of money. You got to learn the game of business and strategy. And so from there, I started doing business coaching, but only because I figured I could teach people about my failures, like do as I say, not as I do, like we had built a successful business, but man, I learned so many things along the way. And that place of pain became the first place that I started speaking. So I took my lessons in our first venture and I started doing business coaching, where we started training and facilitating some of the largest mastermind groups in Denver. And that's where I started to find that gift. So I had to come face to face again with that pain of putting myself out there and getting up on stage and facilitating through pain and lessons and hardship. And you start to realize that, oh, this is the good stuff. And you and I were kind of talking offline before this podcast. Like I had a baby on my hip, like we were ready to do this podcast with like all of the things. And it's been in my ongoing journey around how I'm dealing with those moments, the hard moments, that it continues to fuel, right, the greatest place of pain. So it was getting up after that loss, starting to find my gift as a speaker, and then adjusting the message as I was learning. And I think that's key as a speaker is as we learn, like we can only take people as far as we're willing to go. And so as we're learning and growing, your message is going to change and evolve. And mine has exponentially. I mean, if you get back and watch my first speech 10 years ago and where it is now, one and better, thank God, practice makes better, And the message has evolved, from business to technique to mindset to heart set to dreaming. And so it kind of stacks, which has been fun.
Brilliant. And I'd like to know how you're kind of navigating, like 5 young children and then the homeschooling as well, touching that, because I think it's brilliant. And I know that there's a lot more, they're starting to do that in America and internationally, because I think we've realized, I don't know, was it the reason for yourself, but the whole education system is kind of being indoctrinated for over 100 years. I didn't realize it till I started going back in my head, kind of realizing what they were doing. So you might touch on how you're navigating it with the family, but then your own kind of journey with the homeschooling.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you could have been on my call yesterday with me and my director of operations, you would know how real and hard this is. I honestly, I called her yesterday and I was like, I don't know that I can do this. This is so hard. There's so much on my plate that is important to me. We've done a good job over the last couple of years of getting all the little things off our plate, all the noise, all the to-dos, all the busy work. But now, I'm really sitting with this place where I have a lot on my plate that I really care about. And it's constantly and consistently remembering the things that I think are the 2 most important and hard days. Number 1 is the day that you start, and number 2 is the day that you want to quit. And those days are important because it's really hard to start. So when my husband and I started doing this homeschool, I don't have a degree in teaching, right? Like he was in the special needs as a kid growing up, like the special education department of school. I got all straight A's, but that's as far. I moved to LA to be an actress and a model, and right, like from an education perspective, like we don't have all of the designations behind our name, nor did we think that we were quote unquote teachers. However, to your point, we knew that we wanted to be a mindset development for our children. We knew the power of developing their minds and their hearts and the way that they look at the world and the way that they understand learning. And so for us, it was really our greatest why was to be able to shape who they are and their learning process. On hard days, I have to go back to that. Because on hard days, yeah, you're right, I'm running a business and trying to be a wife, and I got laundry, and you add up all of those things and it starts to feel like a lot. So how we do it, we have great support. We do have an au pair that lives with us. My husband and I believe in doing this together. I have an incredible team within my business. I pray a lot. I pray a lot. And I get up really early. I get up at 4:30 every morning just to have quiet time, carve out my time to get done big tasks, set my mind, set my heart. And then on those hard days, I call someone who won't let me quit. I call the person that says, here's why we started. Here's why we're going to do it. We're going to get another push-up in today. We're going to do the hard things. And that's been huge for me.
Beautiful. Love it. Love it. And because I've seen the pictures and your children are beautiful, and like you can see they're all unique with say their hairstyles. Are you allowing them to kind of choose what they want? Because I could see the different styles, because that's what I do with my son had long hair, and I brought him to the hairdresser the other day and I said, look, you talk and say what you want. I've always kind of, and I didn't see him because he was around the corner, and I've got a very nice hairdresser who talks away to him. And next he came out and he told you, man, he wants the same haircut as me. So he got it all chopped off. And I was like, but I'm just curious with your kids, because I could see the different hairstyles, and I'm wondering what way you do it.
I love that you asked that question, because we just had this conversation the other day. Our oldest Malachi really wants long hair, like long hair, longer than mom. And so my husband and I had this conversation, because we're like, when do you let him choose, and at what age, and how do you and and it's not right or wrong, but it was so funny because it was all centered around this haircut. And for us, it's so fascinating, because we know this at a head level as parents, but then when you really start to see it, like, it's amazing that God has created those same two parents, right? Like, we raise them a lot of times, they're the same. Like, we have a lot of the same rules in the house. Like, yes, age and all that kind of differs a little bit, but it's amazing to see that who they are is so different, and what they bring to the world is so different. So as parents, we just really try to lean in our prayers constantly. God, who is this little person that's in front of us, and how do we foster who you've created them to be? Not who we want them to be, not who they should be, not even with the haircut that they think, right? Just who are they, and how do we foster that? And so we're learning. I personally love their little haircuts, so I kind of started. I'll plant some seeds, and if they'll listen and run it out, we'll run it out. But right about 9 years old, they're like, hey, I want a different haircut. We're like, okay, what does that mean? And I don't know.
Oh, brilliant, brilliant. So, like the book, I can see the book there. And when I was researching, first I thought the cover is cool. It's really, it grabs your attention. But you've got amazing reviews in the Amazon store, like some beautiful comments on it. So I suppose let's delve into the book a bit and tell me all about it.
Yeah, this is, I appreciate that. When I went to write this book again, Roy, I'm not a big name. I didn't have parents who went ahead of me and like created this large infrastructure and influence. And so when it came time to write a book, right, and feeling drawn to do this, even though everybody writes a book and they tell you every speaker needs a good book, and right, all the semantics, there was a lot of vulnerability in putting this work out there. But I knew early on that I needed a cover that would ignite hearts of people when they saw it. Because beyond my name or a platform or a lot of the things that stop us from taking a step forward, I just knew that, man, I want the cover to showcase what's on the inside. And so this actually is a testimony to the process and the pain. The book was written actually about, it starts with a foreword to my best friend who was killed in a car accident on a mission trip when I was 17 years old. And her middle name was Aslan, which means lion, brave lion. And so much of my story today is wrapped up in that lion, and learning that boldness is just the willingness to say yes. It's just the willingness to go for it. It's the willingness to lean into the fire that we have on the inside of us, the dreams that we have on the inside of us, and to go for it regardless of what's going on around us. Because what the world doesn't need is one more person putting their dreams on the shelf. They don't need one more person playing small. We don't need one more person, quote unquote, being realistic. Like, we don't need one more person tuning into the news. We need people who are able to go so deep within themselves to really get clear on the dreams and the desires within them, and to bring that to the world around them. So the cover, we love it. We do it. It ignites people. It's getting conversations started, and it really is a depiction of all of us have a lion on the inside of us. There's a boldness, there is a dream. And the goal is to refine the fire, to let it burn, to let it roar out, and to let the world see the dreams that we have on the inside of us. So that's a little bit about the dream.
And I've seen something where it's like an acronym as well, the DREAM. Yeah, you might let people know what it stands for.
Yeah, so the book, so often people will start reading it and they go, oh man, this is not what I was expecting. Like, this is a heavy read. Like, we joke, like, do not read this before bed, because it is a deep, deep read. And so it's not what you think, it's not a book that's going to make you feel good. It's actually one that's designed to make you be good. And like a push-up, that doesn't feel good. Like, I don't care how many push-ups you do, I don't like them ever still. So the book is actually a framework. We call it the DREAM framework, that's designed to, right, actually define what dreaming is, because I think a lot of us have an idea of what it is, but we really have no clue, which is why we're not getting the results in our life. It's the ability to rethink, which is to actually unlearn some of the things that we've learned and to dive into our limiting beliefs and the things that stop us. It's designed to help us really establish a greater vision and conviction to live for. A lot of us have dreams, but is it real? Or we have disappointment, so we put our dreams on the shelf, or, there's a lot there. So we actually help people establish what a good dream is. We then align with what that is. So many of us are seeking balance. I hate that word. I think it's causing people to be depressed and hopeless and frustrated. So we really speak about alignment, head, mind, body, spirit, technique. And then, of course, get moving. Like, you're going to have to go before you're ready. You're going to have to forget about being perfect. You're going to have to run through it. And so the book is actually that framework that walks people from where they are to where they want to be.
And I saw as well that you've a workbook. So I knew that when I see that, I go, okay, this isn't just something that you read and you put down and then you continue your life as normal. You want people to make change. Yeah.
My life is a testimony of this book. We wrapped 10 years of our life into this, really with the idea that, no, we're not going to make it, quote unquote, easier for people, nor are we going to simplify it to the point that we suggest that it's easy. It's, as I joke, simple, stupid, hard. It's simple, stupid, hard. So yes, we wanted to actually have something that lived outside of me, that could give people, and honestly, groups, families, businesses, leadership teams, churches, any type of a small group, just 2 people or more, that could actually dream together, because it's lonely, it's challenging, we need support, we need encouragement. And so we did this also in a way that gives people the resources to do it in community as well.
Brilliant. And for I think everybody has a dream, but they kind of just park themselves on the chair and they don't. What kind of tips, advice would you give somebody just to start moving closer to their dream?
Yeah, I want to buy the book. I'm this is not a shame. It is a shameless plug. Buy the book. That's why we wrote it, right? It's an $18 investment into your future. So I would definitely say buy the book. Then I would go back to my earlier point. Once you decide that, hey, that's my dream, right? When we go, I don't know what my dream is. Well, then that's the first step. You need to clarify that. Well, I don't have time. Oh, okay. That says nobody who really wants a dream then. We let so much around us influence us. And so I think if we go, well, I don't have time, I don't have money, I don't have this, I don't have that. Okay, great. Now that we're done with that, let's put that over there and decide that dreaming is the most important thing that we could do. Our life depends on it. The quality of our life depends upon the level of dreaming that we're doing, right? It's almost like our freedom in this life is dependent upon our level of dreaming. And so the more I'm able to dream, the more freer I will be. And so the first step is there is no more excuses. There are no more reasons. There's just priorities. But you and I have the same amount of time. We both have 24 hours in a day. You don't get more, we don't get less. God is that good. He's like, let's just have an even playing field, 24 hours, boom. And now what we do with that matters. It matters. So I think first step is just recognizing the power of your hour. Even if it's only an hour a day, start there. Just start there. And then as it grows, you can commit more time, and it will start to snowball, but commit to an hour a day.
And so you mentioned earlier, you're an early riser. I'm the exact same. It's like when my son is, here, sometimes I'm 2 or 3 hours up before him. I get a load done in that time. It's that's the golden moments for me.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny that you say that. I love it. We just had our 5th. She's 8 months old now, but those first 6 months, I don't get those morning hours just because I'm up all night long. But the last 2 months, I've been able to regain them again. And I feel the same way. They are gold to me. Sometimes I find myself beating the clock because in that time, I am so focused. It is so quiet. It is so profound. I cherish that time. So yeah, I'm with you. It's gold to me too.
Oh, brilliant. So I know you're a podcaster and you're podcasting with your husband. And one of the things that I loved is the graphics that you create are beautiful. I mean, I've got 1,000. I'm hitting the 1,000 with all my podcasts together now, and I mean, mine are nowhere near that. They are top 10 out of 10 for the graphics that you're using for your podcast.
Oh, thank you for saying that.
So
We
you've
love
got,
it.
what is it, like 42, it might be more now, but 42 episodes, and it's Dream On Podcast is the name of it, yeah?
Yeah, and it's a cool show just because, so much of our brand is me, the Julia Gentry. You can find it on every platform, but my podcast is really an invitation to have a conversation with a husband and a wife, doing life together, dreaming together. We talk about faith, family, career. We're talking about tackling our dreams. We talk about deep water stuff, so we're talking about fear and faith and communication and boundaries and alignment and all of these different types of things. So it's just a cool, you meet us literally in our house, just like now. You hear our kids in the background most of the time. It's really unscripted, but it's just a cool opportunity for people just to recognize, like, life is real, and good days and hard days and everything in between. And so we hope that it encourages people.
I think so. And I mean, a lot of people don't have these open conversations, or they're just kind of thinking, it's because sometimes people, they look at this social media of people and they think life is, rosy in the garden, the sun is always shining. And that's the reality. Is we all get hit a few curveballs, and there's days, you don't feel your full self. And, the children can annoy you at times, and just having them conversations and to listen to somebody else, you go, oh, so I'm not strange, I'm normal.
And I do that, right? Like, even we do a lot of shorts on Instagram, and a lot of times the videos look amazing, right? Like, even after I watch it, I was like, I should have lived that experience. And then you're like, oh wait, I did, like, what? It looks better than what I did. And so we always try to joke. I try to flip the camera afterwards and go, hey, I know that adventure with my 5 children looked perfect and epic and easy, but I'm exhausted. Like, oh my gosh, let me tell you about the in-betweens and the takes, and my house is never this clean. And, so we do really try to lead people and showcase, like, hey, our life is a testimony that dreaming does work, and the vulnerability to say, here's a front row seat that this is not perfect. It is messy most of the time. We're awkward until we're awesome. And, again, we're learning just like anybody else.
Excellent. And you're hosting with Podicize, is it? That's the host that you're with?
They host it. Yeah, we actually brought most of it in-house, though. I have an incredible director of operations. We call her my director of all the things. And she's actually, so even talking about thumbnails, and, we're on different platforms now, and she's just taken all of this to a whole new level. So we're really hosting this on Cami, my director of all the things.
Oh, brilliant. And I suppose, like, with the social media then, because, you've got a team, but I see on TikTok, I was laughing, your daughter, she didn't say subscribe or something like that. But, like, I see TikTok seems to be a good platform but just wondering with what you're doing now, what you find is actually working, and what you think you should cut the ties with in the social media.
So good. Yeah, we just, I'm in the process of kind of leveling up my game a little bit right now. To be totally honest, I hate the game of social media. It has always been a push-pull for me. I hate the game. And one of the things that stopped me from even, quote unquote, entering the game was that, look, there's people who love it, and they're going to beat me every time because they love it and I don't. So I had a come to Jesus conversation with my husband months and months ago, where he sat down one early morning, which he doesn't normally do, but he sat down right on the couch, and he just says, when are you going to let the world really hear you? And that was so fascinating to me, because I have a lot of limiting beliefs around, I'm not important, what I have to say, right? People are going to find me out and reject me. Like, I carry a lot of, quote unquote, hiding techniques, if you will, but it really launched me into, I'm not messing around anymore. Like, this isn't for me. This is for someone somewhere who needs hope, who needs a dream, who needs the reminder. So number one, that has to be the shift every day when I post a video or do, like, I don't do it for me, because most days I don't want to, Roy. I don't want to. I don't want to. So I have to keep that in mind of, who is this for, right? I have to keep them as my target. Then what we've done is I've hired a coach who doesn't, quote unquote, tell me what to do, but he is the mindset around how I do it. So we are really focused on shorts right now, catching people's attention. I love to talk. I could talk all day long. That's why we do 3-day conferences. And he's helping me get to the point faster. I think our audience, right? We're in a world that's so loud and giving so much that we've got to be to the point. So we're really focused on shorts. We're doing a lot on Instagram and Instagram stories. And we're actually kind of picking a monthly theme. So every month we're drawing our community and our viewers into a big topic: conviction, boundaries, alignment, money, right? Like things that are really hard to talk in shorts about. You're like, have better conversation with your husband. And people are like, what does that mean? Like, how the heck am I supposed to do that? Or have more burn and passion for what you're doing. And people are like, great, says you, because you have it all figured out. And so we talk about really big things. So what we're doing is actually taking a month topic and we're just breaking it up throughout the month. And that's been serving us. We're
I think that's a
traction,
fantastic strategy, because
followers.
most people are kind of all over the shop and they're talking about money one day, they're talking about something else. But if you stay, because then your brain is in that kind of zone as well, and people kind of get used to it. And they might at the start just kind of put the hands up, and then later they're like, oh, this is interesting. So I think that's a fantastic strategy.
For sure. Well, and I've even been coached, Julia, you give a lot of information to people, but information gets people confused because they think they need more. Like you give them a few action steps, but you're right. I was looking at all the different things that I could do and I was confused. So that's really helped me. Shorter, focused attention on a topic, small bite-sized pieces, focus on my people.
Brilliant. So you're a featured leader on D.R.E.A.M. You might let me know a bit about that.
Yeah, it's an amazing app and a partnership with the guys over at D.R.E.A.M. And it is really an app that's just there to build, I would say, resiliency in people through prayer. So we put all additional stuff on there on that app that just encourages people. We pray with people. We're talking about God. We're folding in the spiritual side of things to the tactical side of things, like to reality. And yeah, we've got more than 100,000 people over there that are listening in and downloading our information and our daily dreaming. And yeah, it's been amazing.
Brilliant. So I know you're involved with a lot of events. So I suppose kind of with your journey, what you've learned, because, some people are doing events, going to events, what kind of tips you could give people regarding events?
Dang, this is deep. This is hard waters, you guys. Last year when I hired my director of operations, I hired her, Roy, because I hit a point in my career that I knew it got me to where I was, but it wasn't going to take me to where I've never been. And so I had a couple options, right? I keep doing what I've always done, which I was getting bored. Great life, fine income, all the things, but I was bored. We close up shop, right? You get a point, you're like, oh, I'm going to stop doing this. I got too much on my plate. I'm too busy. I got to feed my kids. I got to do third grade math. Like it was just, I was ready to just close up shop. Or you put your chips on the table and you go for it. And so hiring her was huge. Well, not only did we hire a full-time salaried position, we decided to host 2 Dare to Dream conferences within the first 5 months. Never have we hosted our own. Here's what I would say. This. It's amazing. You will change lives. And it is so much work right out of the gate. It's probably down the road to host your own events, right? When you have key partners, a decent following, people are like asking you for what's next. I would say that that's down the road. So we're really focused on more partnerships right now and events that are right, direct connections where we can create the biggest impact with a community and an ongoing basis. Virtual is still big, so 50% of what we're doing is still virtual. And we have a lot of room to grow. We're transitioning my coaching business into our mastermind business and a speaking business. So we're still in that transition. We're not experts, but every month we get closer and closer to that goal. And, we just realize that we're building a cathedral. So one brick at a time, one dream at a time, one day at a time.
I think that's kind of one of the advantages of the craziness in the last 3 years. There was the kind of online that people started kind of accepting, hey, I can go to an event and I don't have to pay for the flight, I don't have to pay for the hotel, but also for the event organizer, not only have you an international audience that you can be kind of selling to, but then you can repurpose it later.
Yeah, prior to COVID, I was at that time coaching probably 90% of the time, speaking 10% of the time. But I would have told you at that point in time, it's impossible to coach and get this level of impact on Zoom. I would have told you that it was impossible. That's where we start with every dream. It's impossible. Well, said nobody who's experienced COVID or the desire to make it happen, or, so sometimes, again, it's those moments that, again, I'm not suggesting that wasn't a hard season for all of us, but you're right, it really started to prove, right? The pressure proves, oh, wait, there's an upgrade here. Like, it doesn't always have to be bad. Like, what's the upgrade? What's the opportunity here? And yeah, we've really watched impact, revenue, time efficiency increase exponentially the last couple of years in our business. I mean, we've truly made more money in less time with that one simple switch.
Brilliant. And just on the coaching then, because there's some people, they're kind of thinking of becoming a coach and they're saying, oh, I can't because I'm at home. You were a stay-at-home mom with the homeschooling, and you managed it. Was it a case of people had to accept the situation? I'd like to know the kind of journey. Was there cases that a client could be annoyed because of it, or did it actually come to your advantage?
Yeah, we really do try to set some boundaries with the kids, like my husband and I, because we work from home, sometimes that can be really confusing for the kids because I'm here, but I'm working. And so we have to be really vocal with our kids around why we do what we do. Because at some level, I want my kids to do what they love too. So I've had some heart-to-heart conversations with myself around, I can't do work that is just mediocre to me. Like, otherwise I'd just rather be spending it with them. So I had to, one, make sure that the time that I was exchanging at work versus being with them was important to me. Then I needed to be able to communicate that to them. So in theory, when the door is shut, mommy's working, right? It's 7.5 out of 10 times that rule is followed, And so I think that my clients really do respect that. If it was all the time, right? I always look for mistakes or patterns. If it was all the time, I would be annoyed. Like, I'm paying you big bucks to change my life, not to like entertain your children. So it's definitely not a pattern. My kids will come in. They know a lot of my clients now. This is personal. I know their families. I know their life. But yeah, we do try to set some boundaries just so that the kids kind of know, and then we ebb and flow. But I think at some level, right? Like, we could talk ourselves out of anything. I can't be a coach because I don't have the background. I can't do this because I work from home. I can't do, well, then, okay, right. Henry Ford says, if you want to be right, you're going to be right. If you want to be wrong, you're going to be wrong, like, regardless. So I think at some level, it was a conscious choice and continues to be a conscious choice of, here's our priorities. How do we live into this? How do we lean into this? And then, how do we set as many standards around this as possible?
Brilliant. So you're living the dream that you've created with the book and everything. So listen, Julia, thoroughly enjoyed it. So you might let people know, how could they get in contact with you?
Yes, you can follow me on any social media platform at the Julia Gentry. And of course, if you want to take your dreams to the next level, or you want the dream framework that we've talked about today, we have a mastermind group called Dreamstorm, which you can learn more at dreamstormwithjulia.com.
Perfect. So thank you very much. I'll make sure I'll put the links both on the audio and the video.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. So that's all for the Speaking Podcast. You'll find all our episodes on speakingpodcast.com. As mentioned, we're on BitChute and YouTube, and you'll find my coaching along with my 4 other podcasts, bio.link/podcaster. Be sure to give us a thumbs up, 5-star rating, and check out Julia's podcast. Give her a 5-star rating as well. And when you buy the book, give it a 5-star rating. It all helps. Until next week, take care.